Now listen here. If you're going to be introducing Daniel Pink, the 4-time New York Times bestselling author, this intro, Clay, had better be hot. I don't even know how to begin to introduce this guy. I mean, he graduated from Yale Law School in 91. He's a speechwriter for Al Gore. I mean, he's a 4-time New York Times bestselling author. I mean, don't be overwhelmed by the fact that you got kicked out of Oral Roberts University or that you took algebra 3 times or that you took the ACT 3 times. Just focus on the fact that you have none of the skills or talents that he has, and just
I feel like I have a few
but don't let it overwhelm you. Just get up there and do your thing.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show, we are interviewing the 4-time New York Times bestselling author, the man they pay to think. It's thought leader Daniel Pink. Once a speechwriter for VP Al Gore, he knows how to write the speech to make the people applaud. You must grab a pen and pad, I implore. Dan Pink is talking strategy like the art of war. If you're on the floor, but you want the sword, Dan Pink's gonna blow your mind and you'll be wanting more. He says when language rhymes, it's more sublime. So I'm gonna tell you his name one more time, Daniel Pink.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Big shout out to Yale Law School, class of 1991. Daniel Pink.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
Thrive Nation, on today's show, we have a very special guest. It's none other than my brother from another mother, the 4-time New York Times best-selling author, Dan Pink. Mr. Pink, how are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me on the show, Clay.
I have to ask you, I don't know that you keep track of this, but how many times have you been a New York Times bestselling author?
Oh, I keep track of this, man.
Okay.
How many weeks or how many books? I don't know how many.
How many
weeks,
books
but
have you written that have
4.
become New York Times bestsellers?
4.
And with those 4 books, you now have this overwhelming success. You're so eloquent. There's so many great interviews you've done and so many presentations. Go back to the bottom. Take me to the bottom. The very beginning, at the genesis of the Daniel Pink career. Where do you feel like your career first began to gain some traction?
You know, I feel honestly like I'm still gaining traction.
Okay.
And I came to this career in writing books in sort of a weird way. I didn't really figure out what I wanted to do with my life, what I wanted to be when I grew up until, I don't know, in my early 30s. So I went down a very peculiar path. I went to college. I majored in linguistics, of all things. I was very interested in social science, and especially linguistics is a very mathematical kind of social science. I ended up working in Washington for a little bit. Then I went to law school. Really didn't like it. Didn't want to become a lawyer. Graduated from law school unemployed. Have never practiced law. And started working in politics, did that for a while, and decided that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And the insight as it came with this, and I think it's a lesson for particularly some of your younger listeners out there. There are a lot of people who tell you, you got to find your passion. What's your passion? And I hate that question. For me, it was a very different question, and it was this: what do you do? What do you actually do? And for me, from the time I was in college, all the way to the time that I was working in politics and had some pretty demanding jobs, I was always, quote unquote, writing on the side. I was writing newspaper articles and magazine articles and columns and things like that. I did it kind of as a hobby, as weird as that sounds, in the same way that people, oh, I've got my bowling night. Oh, I'm going to go do whatever, taxidermy, and it wasn't, I don't know how I came up with bowling and taxidermy. Although it'd be kind of cool if you had a sport where you actually rolled a ball down a lane and you knocked over little stuffed animals. That would be kind of cool. We just invented a new sport. Clay.
Right. This is something we have done together. Our first collaborative opportunity.
Coming up on ABC Sports. And it wasn't until I realized that this thing that I was doing on the side was kind of what I should be doing. And so that's why I like the question, and I'm sorry for such a long-winded answer, but that's why I like the question of, asking, like, what do you do? What do you pay attention to? What do you care about when no one's watching, when you have free time? What is it that you actually do? And I think that it's usually not a super loud voice. It's a quieter voice. You have to really listen for it.
Yeah.
But I think if you follow that voice, you can have a better chance of finding your path.
You, in the world of politics, if I am getting anything incorrect, you feel free to correct me here. You were a speechwriter when you started. Am I correct there?
Yeah, right. I worked on some campaigns, and then in a completely convoluted way became a speechwriter.
How did you become a speechwriter? Were you the master orator? And I believe you wrote some speeches for Mr. Alvin Gore.
So I did for several years. So here's the thing. Here's how I became a speechwriter. All right. And this is it wasn't like, wow, you are so articulate. Wow, look at that sentence you wrote. It gleams off the page. That's not how I became a speechwriter. Here's how I became a speechwriter. Somewhere along the line, someone said, oh, crap, we need a speech. And they looked around and they saw me and they knew I could type. And they said, Pink, can you write a speech? And I said, and this is a very good lesson for your younger listeners out there. I said, yeah, I can do that, having basically no experience doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I can do that. And I did it, and it didn't stink. And they said, hey, can you do it again? And I said, I can do that. Can you do it again? And that's how I became a speechwriter.
When did your first book come out? When did your first best-selling book come out?
My first book came out in 2001. It was a book called Free Agent Nation, and it was about the rise of people working for themselves, like many of your listeners, people who left large organizations to go out on their own, start a small business, become an independent entrepreneur. And it was really about, like, why was this is way before the gig economy. Why was this happening? Why were people choosing this path, and why were some people being forced onto it? But what was it all about, and how is it changing the way that we work?
It's interesting because, again, you're how old are you right now there, Daniel?
I am 54 years old.
Okay. I'm 38. I'm a father of 5 kids. And I am about...
How old are your kids?
My oldest daughter, she's 14. My son's 11. I have a daughter that's 9, and then twins that are 7.
Okay. All right.
And I started my first company out of my dorm room at Oral Roberts University, which is still around today. I sold the company, but it was the nation's largest wedding entertainment company called DJConnection.com. And I was in Minnesota, and I had a family member who was a family member of mine who's very, very successful, who said, I need to read this book, Free Agent Economy.
Oh, really?
And I said, boo, because I knew about all the DJ music. I knew the top 40. I knew about these things, scaling a company, thinking about my career, free agents. No. Then I sold DJ Connection, kind of a 27-year-old, now retired. At 27, I didn't have to work anymore. And I picked up the book.
Oh.
And so it's like a message in a bottle that took me years to, and that's how I first discovered your writing. And I just want to ask you this, because I write books and you write best-selling books, so I want to ask you this. What was the process like of finding an agent that finally understood you and could help you get a book deal that you felt like made sense?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's helpful for aspiring writers to have writers really talk about some of the mechanics, like what is it really like, and I'll tell you what happened to me. For this first book, I had actually I had left my job and was out on my own, and I'd written a magazine story for a magazine called Fast Company about this phenomenon of people of what we called free agents, and I said, wow, this is so interesting. There's so much more to write about. I think I want to turn this into a book. So what I did is I took that article, I wrote a short and very bad book proposal, and I sent it to, I don't know, a bunch of agents. And I found those agents by talking to friends of mine who were writers. Another good way to find agents is to go into the acknowledgments of books, read the acknowledgments of books, because a writer will usually thank his or her agent. And I sent it to a bunch of agents, and I don't know, maybe a dozen, and that friends and whatever had recommended. And some of them said, no, thanks. Not interested in this.
Oh,
yeah, a lot of them. Yeah. And some of them said, "This is great. I'll represent you, and let's have another conversation." And there was one agent in particular who called me up and said, "This is really interesting. Do you want to have coffee or want to have lunch and talk about it?" And so I had lunch with him and talked about it. And he said, and he basically told me that this is a good idea, poorly executed, and I could do it a lot better. And he was so smart and so savvy. I said, "This is the guy I want to go with." And this fellow, Rafe Segalin, has been my agent for 20 years now.
Really? So you guys have had that relationship for 20 plus years?
Yeah, and it's a very and the writer-agent relationship is extraordinarily important because a lot of times in publishing houses, editors come and go, and your agent it can be a sounding board. Your agent can be your agent certainly is your advocate, not only in getting the contract and negotiating a good deal, but also throughout the publishing process. Your agent is very good at understanding the broader contours of the market, and so my decision to pick this particular literary agent was one of the best business decisions I have ever made.
You have you ever written a book from start to finish that was totally terrible, and once you got to the end of it, you realized what I have just done is I have invested 300 pages, 300 hours, 400, I would say 4,000 hours and 300 pages into writing pure drivel. This book must not be released.
No, but
Okay.
the only reason for that is that I have a technique to avoid being in that predicament. Because what I do when so remember in this one instance that I told you, I wrote a pretty bad book proposal. I got better at writing book proposals thanks to the guidance of my agent. And so now for every book that I do, I will write a book proposal. And my book proposals tend to be 30, 40 pages long.
Wow.
They have research. They have footnotes. It describes what the book is about, why nobody else has written it, why I'm the perfect person to write it, who's the market for this thing, how I'm going to organize it. And here's the thing, Clay. There have been several times when in the course of writing that proposal, I said, "Holy smokes, this stinks," or "Holy smokes, this is not interesting enough to spend the next several years of my life on." And so I didn't get to the point where I had written 300 pages. I used that 30 to 40 page book proposal as a way to kind of road test it. It's a prototype of sorts. It'd be like, here's the thing. Like, I don't know, you were in college. Did you have a business plan for your business?
It was interesting. I had a plan, but it was a drawing.
Okay. That's it. That's actually really interesting. That's super interesting. So in some sense, it's sort of a book proposal is sort of like a business plan. You can write a business plan and say, "Oh my God, the numbers don't add up. Oh my God, this market is a lot smaller than I thought. Oh my God, 18 other entities have already done this," and say, "Wow, that was a good exercise because it avoided me starting a business that would have been a mistake." It's similar for me in book proposals.
Now, what I want to do is I want to take the listeners through sort of a highlight reel. As a DJ, a lot of times you buy a CD and it's got like, back in the day, you'd buy a CD and have like the best of the Eagles.
Sure.
You know, like the best of the Doobie Brothers, the best of. Once you got to the part of your career where you were starting to book casino gigs, you know, the Journey is now at a casino of the Doobie Brothers. Once you got to that casino
I like Journey,
phase,
though. I actually am a Journey fan.
okay, so once you get to the casino phase of your career, you realize what we got to do. Let's do a best of album. I mean, Garth Brooks from Oklahoma here, he's been doing a best of every year at Walmart for, I think, about a decade. Now, so in your book, Drive, I want to go through the best of. This is interesting. It's like a best of with an author who's still putting out current relevant stuff. In your book, Drive, you write, grades become a reward for compliance, but don't have much to do with learning. Meanwhile, students whose grades don't measure up often see themselves as failures and give up trying to learn. I am a person who took algebra 3 times. I took my ACT 3 times. I used to stutter as a kid, and now I've been approached to syndicate our show we've been doing for 6 years. And so I think anybody out there who got beat up in school and started to see themselves as a failure can resonate with and can connect with what you just said. Break down why you wrote that and what that means to you.
Yeah, so that book, Drive, is about the science of motivation and what really motivates people. And one of the things that happens, especially in schools, is that Well, here's what we know about motivation in general. One of the greatest motivators in that people have, an intrinsic motivator, is knowing why you're doing something and making progress in doing it. And so in our schools, many schools are so incredibly grade conscious that grades are the point of the exercise. Grades ought to be feedback on your performance and some ways that you can get better. And so what happens is that the kids who are more or less good at school, which is, a very peculiar ability. Kids who are good at school are just totally compliant. They know what you need to do to get the grade.
True.
And kids who are less good at school get bad grades and think that they don't have the capacities. They don't have what Carol Dweck, the Stanford psychologist, calls a growth mindset. And so for you in algebra, there is no doubt in my mind, having talked to you for 11 minutes, that you can master that young you could have mastered algebra.
I agree.
It was just basically you weren't in a setting that was prizing learning. It was prizing performance. And let me actually make a simpler way to describe this. I'll talk about me. All right. I was actually a pretty good student in school, because when I went to school, if you gave the authority figure what he or she wanted on time and neatly, you could do pretty well. And so let me give you an example of French. All right. I took French for 6 years, 4 years in high school, 2 years in college. I got straight A's in French. Wow. Every marking period, I got straight A's in French. But here's the thing, Clay. I can't speak French. Why? Because I was going for the grade, not the learning. I could conjugate verbs. I could get the answers right on vocabulary quizzes, but I was doing the French for the grade. And one of the things that we know about the psychology of motivation is that performance goals, that is getting an A in French, don't always and often do not lead to learning goals, mastering French. So I had a purely performance goal, and that doesn't lead to a learning goal. If I had been smarter, and I wish that I had been, I would have focused on learning French. I would have learned French and probably would have done just fine on the tests.
There was a Napoleon Hill quote that set me free. I was probably 19 there, Dan, and it said that failure is a prerequisite to success.
Sure.
And I was cold calling out of my Oral Roberts University dorm room, Boeing, UPS, huge companies, trying to convince them to book me for their Christmas party, Uh-huh. And I'm going, failure is a prerequisite to success.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to fail, and then I'll fix my script, and then I had to see it as a prerequisite.
Yeah.
And in your book, The Adventures of Johnny Bunko,
yes,
the last career guide you'll ever need, you wrote it's kind of like taking Napoleon Hill to the next level.
Okay.
You wrote, persistence trumps talent.
Oh, wait, totally.
What's the most powerful force in the universe? Compound interest. It builds on itself. Over time, a small amount of money becomes a large amount of money. Persistence is similar. A little bit improves performance, which encourages greater persistence, which improves persistence even more. I ran out of highlighter juice right there. Juice, and I'm just like, it's so good. I got to get him on the show. Walk me through that quote. It's so good.
I think this is fundamental, and it's something that I wish someone had told me earlier in my life. It's something that I discovered later in my life. That is, and it goes to, there's some very, I'll come back to the research on this, but let me tell you what the idea is. We have in some ways oversold the importance of great talent, and being a quote unquote natural. And the truth of the matter is, talent still matters, and there is such a thing as innate talent and innate ability. But it matters far less, I believe, than we think that it does. And what really matters is showing up and being persistent and making that 103rd call and making that 104th call and making that 105th call. And what I have seen as a writer, and actually it's interesting because I'm making a connection I might not have made earlier. Remember how I talked about I was writing on the side?
Yeah.
All right. And I think a reason for that, I haven't thought a lot about this. It's really just occurring to me right now. I think a reason for that was that I didn't consider myself a very talented writer. It was something I'd like to do, but I didn't consider myself a huge writing talent. And what I discovered about writing in basically every human endeavor is that like sort of early in people's working lives, it seems like, oh my gosh, that person is so talented. He or she's going to do really, really great. And I'm just a piker. But what I've seen is that many, many talented people go nowhere because they don't persist. They don't put in the time. They don't endure the failure. They don't show up every day. And people with less innate ability over time who have persistence will outperform them. And so if you gave me a choice, and in the book, the Johnny Bunko book, one of the characters, Diana, takes them to a casino where you can bet on people. And so you can have, so you take two people early in their lives. One is very talented but not persistent. One is moderately talented but extremely persistent. I'm betting everything on that second person. Because showing up, persistence, enduring failure ends up being a better predictor of success than innate ability.
You have so many knowledge bombs per capita. When I go through and edit this show, I'm going to have to just marinate on this rotisserie style for several days. I want to ask you this because, Andrew, you know this as you're taking the show notes here. I never want to try to one-up a guest. Right.
No,
but never would want to do it. But this is what I thought about. I thought, I have 5 kids, and Daniel, I think you have 3, right, Dan? You have 3?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. But Dan, though, he's written 4 best-selling books, and I have written 0, but I'm due. You know what I mean? I'm due.
Totally.
I built multiple multi-million-dollar companies, 6. I don't know how many you've built, but you seem to be the wiser man. No matter how many we look, you have these notable quotables that are powerful, and it seems like I'll read a little line, and it's like 3 lines, and it changes my year. So I'm going to read a notable quotable from the book Drive.
Okay, talk to me.
That changed my year.
All right.
And so I give you the mega points. You win. Here we go. It says, so get rid of the unnecessary obligations, the time-wasting distractions, and useless burdens that stand in your way. Here's where I was when I read that. What year did that come out? Do you remember what year Drive came out?
I think that was 2005.
There we go. See, I sold DJ Connection 2000 and like
No, 2008.
I think I sold DJ Connection 2008-9. So it's like right in that window.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I read this and I'm going, I am the head of the Tulsa Bridal Association. It was like a wedding show, organization. I'm going, why? Like, how many leads do I get by networking with other wedding vendors? I mean, honestly, let's look at this.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I would rather spend the time, there's one meeting a week, the 52 hours a year. I'd rather just buy a billboard or a mailer. Free myself. And there were so many things where I said, why? Why am I going to that networking group? Why? Dan, why do we get all so caught up in these unnecessary obligations? And where do you see most entrepreneurs wasting their time?
Well, so some of it is not a complete waste of time.
Okay.
Because and I'll tell you why. Because we do make mistakes in this realm too, and it's worth trying stuff. Okay, so you could have gone to that association, that club, and said, hey, this might work out. You get there and you realize, oh my God, this is a total waste. The mistake that people make is that they keep going after something. They stick with something that they know isn't working.
6 years, Dan. 6 years.
Yeah, and so I think that the key is to try stuff, but get out earlier rather than late. And I see this in a number of different realms. I mean, part of it is a flaw in the way we think. There's something called the sunk cost fallacy, where we feel like if we've invested in something, then so let's say we buy tickets to a basketball game, and on the night of the game it's raining and you feel terrible and don't want to go. You say, well, I need to go because I spent money on the tickets. I spent money on the tickets. But the truth is like whether you go or not, you're still going to have spent money on the tickets. That's a sunk cost fallacy. And so what we do is we deepen our commitment to things that don't really matter. What we need to be doing in many cases, and I see this in many realms of businesses. One boss that I saw, and your entrepreneurs and maybe you yourself, Clay, have had this experience. Told me, he says, the biggest mistake I made in managing my business is that I always kept the pitcher in too long. That is, I didn't fire people soon enough. I knew it was a mistake. I knew this pitcher was going to keep getting hit, but I didn't pull the pitcher early enough. And I think that we should have that kind of. It's interesting. We want to be able to experiment and test stuff, but we have to be able to say, you know what? That is a noble failure, and I'm going to chalk it up to experience and information and feedback and move on.
That right there is something that somebody needed to hear. If you're headed down the path of certain defeat, there's no need to continue going. Just pivot, make the change. You know, your book you wrote there's so many books, but To Sell is Human. To Sell is Human. In that book, you wrote, if the person you're selling to agrees to buy, will his or her life improve?
Right.
When your interaction is over, will the world be a better place than when you began? If the answer to either of these questions is no, then you're doing something wrong. Dan, What do you mean by this?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I wrote that book, To Sell is Human, for a couple of reasons. Number one, and one of the big reasons was that I had, in writing about business, I had met a lot of people who were in sales. And they were nothing like the stereotype. We have this view of people of sales as like sleazy and dishonest and duplicitous and not that sharp. And in fact, the people I met who were in sales were super sharp. They were very smart. They were very good at what they did. And it got me thinking about how sales has changed over the last several years. Sales used to be a world where the seller always had more information than the buyer. That's a world of buyer beware, right? Why do we have buyer beware? Because sellers had the edge in information. But now there's so much information out there that they're at an even playing field. We're now in a world of seller beware. And so what sellers have to do more and more is take the high road. And I think for long-term sales success, what you want is you want your client or customer to be better off because they bought from you. You're not just trying to hit your numbers. They're not just numbers on a wall. And so for you, let's take your wedding business, the DJ business. What you want is I think good entrepreneurs want this, hire you as a DJ at their wedding and have people and the bride and groom say, wow, that DJ was so good. He helped make this an unforgettable day.
That is definitely what we wanted. I would say that I told everybody, all my DJs, our whole theme is we want to take every event and take it from ordinary to extraordinary.
There you go.
Because every wedding is somebody's big day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that having that kind of standard, it's not saying, oh, wow, we got to do 3 more deals this month. You know, what can we hustle up? I think that taking that approach over the long run is better. It's better morally, no question. But I actually think that it's better business. It's better business to have that kind of high road mentality. And the other thing about it is that there's a pragmatic reason for it, because today, in a world of TripAdvisor and Yelp and LinkedIn, you know, if you take the low road, you're going to get found out and people are going to talk about it. And so one of the things when we think about selling our product, our service, our idea, ourself, or anything, we have to recognize we're in a very new world in the last 10 years. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the seller of anything had, versus the buyer. The buyer of anything had less information than the seller, not many choices, and no way to talk back. Today, buyers have lots of information, as much as the sellers, lots of choices, and all kinds of ways to talk back. And I think that changes the nature of what sales is, and forces us much more to the high road, forces us in some ways, to use your language, Clay, to go from ordinary to extraordinary.
For the listeners out there that want proof of this, one of the brands that I talk about on the show a lot that I'm involved in, help work with, is called OxyFresh, and it's the world's greenest carpet cleaner, Dan. We have 396 locations now, franchises all over the country. Okay. And we hit today 147,000 Google reviews. So if somebody types in...
Oh, my gosh.
I think it's the most reviewed company in the world, seriously. So if you type in carpet cleaning quotes on your computer, Dan, or on any computer out there, we come up top. And I could sit there and say that, but every show's transcribed, every show's downloaded by a lot of people, and people read the reviews. They just do, and it doesn't matter if you're going to have someone come clean your house or come clean your hotel, you're going to read those reviews, and that wasn't a thing back in '99. That wasn't a thing in 2001. And that's why I think that this book that you wrote many years ago. What year did you write To Sell is Human?
2013. I'm looking this up right now.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
You see that?
I see, well, two different things. I see 149,139 reviews.
So I lied to you by 2,000 short. It grows all the time.
We have a haircut chain called Elephant in the Room that I own. It's a men's grooming lounge. And if you type in Tulsa Men's Haircuts, you'll find us. And we have I want to say 30 times more reviews than our nearest competitor, or 20 times. I mean, it just, if you treat people right, people read those reviews. And it's just,
Absolutely.
Your book is actually becoming, in my opinion, more relevant every year. And in this book, you said, when both parties view their encounter as opportunities to learn, the desire to defeat the other side struggles to find the oxygen it needs. Oh, I'm not into tattoos. I know a lot of millennials are, a lot of listeners are. Would you be opposed to a millennial tattooing an entire arm sleeve with that quote? That's a good quote, Dan. What does that quote mean?
Thanks. But here's the thing. One of the things that I think we missed, I think good entrepreneurs know this. I think that a very narrow and kind of twisted view of business views business as zero sum. If I win, you have to lose. And the truth is that most encounters are not zero sum. They're positive sum. And so this is one of the things about negotiation. Whenever I'm in a negotiation, I say, what does the other side want? How can I help the other side win? How can I help the other side get what it wants? And not thinking of it as, oh my God, one of us is going to win and one of us is going to lose. And it doesn't have to say, negotiations of anything can be contentious. Yeah. And it's not like, you don't want to be a pushover. But if you if you realize that there are many creative ways for encounters, and I think inherently in many business encounters, to be positive sum rather than zero sum. Unfortunately, there's a certain strain of business thinking that says, this is war, we're trying to defeat people,
crush them.
That's the wrong way to do it.
Crush them and then get a good Google review.
Right. Yeah. Rip people off, fleece them, and then send them an annoying impersonal email asking for a review.
All right. Now I have two final questions for you, but you have 2 degrees. You got to get a degree from Yale Law School, which I believe, Dan, do they still just give those out to anybody? Is it just sort of like a
It's pretty much
participation thing?
Okay, it's like there's like a vending machine. You put a quarter in. It's like those old. I don't know if you remember those. I don't know if they still even have them, but I used to love them when I was a kid. You put a quarter into this vending machine, and you get this little mini NFL helmet.
Oh, that was when America was America. Really, that's the problem.
That was the dream. That was the dream to ask your mom or dad at the grocery store if they could give you a quarter for one of those. And when they said yes, and you're just thinking, I hope it's not the Cowboys.
That would surpass your desire for candy for at least a day. You're like, I got the helmet. I don't need to eat candy anymore.
Totally. Because the helmet's there the next day. The candy's not.
That was the deeper thinking I didn't have available there in my early 80s. No, so law school degree from Yale Law School, Northwestern University. So you've done some thinking. And so here is a Daniel Pink thought that makes us all think. Pitches that rhyme are more sublime. Dan, break it down.
But here's the thing. So this is based on some really interesting research. I'll tell you about the research. Here's what they did. They got their participants. They got a big group of people. They divided them into 2 groups. And they said, we're going to give you some proverbs. And what we want you to do is tell us how accurate these proverbs are in describing the human condition. So one group, they said, they gave proverbs. I'm trying to think of what they might have been. Okay, woes unite enemies. Woes unite enemies. In the other group, they gave woes unite foes. All right. And so in one case, it's the same idea, right? Woes unite enemies. Woes unite foes. Caution. One of them was caution and measure will win you riches. The other one was caution and measure will win you treasure. All right. So they're identical in their content. And what they were looking at is, did these groups think that these proverbs accurately describe the human condition? And it turned out that the proverbs that rhymed, people took more seriously. They thought they were more accurate. They thought that they were more insightful. And what's going on here is that rhymes increase what linguists call processing fluency. The message goes down easier. And so rhyming pitches are and rhymes in general are incredibly powerful in getting people not only to remember something but also to believe it.
I want to give you a rap name if you're okay with it. Pink Panther. Think about that. You would have.
We might have a trademark. We might have a copyright or trademark problem there.
Well, here's the deal. I'll just record a freestyle Pink Panther rap for you. I'll send it to you if you want to use it. That's great. I'll send. I commit to you. I will do that. A former DJ. I'll send that. The Pink Panther. Andrew, put in the show notes. I cannot tell a lie on the show. I will send it to you. Just hit delete immediately when you get it if you need to. I respect that. Now, but final question I have for you. You're a very intentional guy. You have a family. You've got kids. You got a lot of people reaching out to you every day. People wanting to book you for a speaking event. You got a lot of social media. I'm sure if you ever take an opinion about anything, someone gets upset. People are happy. How do you stay intentional? How do you organize those first 4 hours of your day? And what time do you wake up?
Okay, I am more of a lark than an owl, but I don't wake up insanely early. I usually wake up between 7 and 7:30. Okay. On writing days, I try to get to my office by 8:30. Fortunately, my office is the garage behind my house, so I have a 22-step commute. On writing days, I'm very, very intentional. What I do, Clay, is this. I come into my office by 8:30. And depending on where I am in a particular project, I give myself a word count, 600 words, 800 words, every once in a while 1,000 words, but usually less than that, maybe 600, 700 words. And that is my job that day, that morning. And I don't bring my phone into the office. I don't open up my email. I don't do anything until I hit that number. And so sometimes I hit the number by 10:30, 11. Other times, not till noon. Other times 1 or 2, or on horrible days 3. But for me, that's how I maintain the intentionality. On writing days, I have a quota that I have to hit. I treat writing the way I would treat a job like bricklaying. What's my job? I come in and I lay some frickin' bricks. What do I do the next day? I come in and lay some more bricks. What do I do the next day? I come in, fix the bricks that are now out of line, and then lay some more bricks. And to me, that's the discipline it takes to write. And it goes back to our idea of persistence and trumping talent. There are a lot of people who just aren't willing to show up and aren't willing to do the work. And if you show up and do the work in general, you're going to be fine.
Asking you to pick your favorite book is, I'm sure, like asking you to pick your favorite child. So
right.
What is a book, though, one of your books that you would say, if all the listeners out there, a lot of entrepreneurs are saying, you know what? I've heard a lot about this guy. I like today's interview. I'd like to check out one of his books. I'm just a click away on Amazon. What's the book you'd say that's a good entry into the Dan Pink experience?
Yeah, that sounds like an amusement park or like a Disney ride. The Dan Pink experience. I don't know, actually. I think the latest one, a book called When, about the science of timing, is pretty fresh. Okay. It's really, it's just out in paperback, and I think that a lot of the ideas in there are really, really fresh. It's stuff and research that a lot of people don't know about, and there's all kinds of tools and tips and takeaways in there for business people.
Dan, I appreciate you more than you know for coming on here. I know you're rebounding from a cold. I know you're an intentional guy. I know you're a married guy. You got a lot of things you could be doing, a lot of places you could be seeing. But thank you for believing in our listening audience enough to come on the show and share some words of wisdom.
It has been a pleasure being with you, Clay. I actually really enjoyed it.
Jason, I think that Dan Pink actually enjoyed the interview. Do you think so? Did you feel like he enjoyed the interview, or is he just telling me what I need to hear today to make it through yet another tough day in the world of adversity called entrepreneurship?
He seemed very genuine.
I agree. He's a great author, a great communicator, and a great dude. Now, Jason, I would ask you this. What was maybe one or two takeaways that you got from today's show that you thought really were just knowledge bombs?
I was literally typing, and then you started typing faster than me, but why persistence trumps talent? Because as soon as he said that, it was the biggest knowledge bomb for me was persistence trumping talent.
I 100% agree with you. And I also like, as a little kind of a side note, I love he's talking about how selling, where if you sell your product to consumers, they should be better off as a result of buying your product or service. Right. Or you shouldn't be selling it.
Yes.
And that's my entire philosophy. And that's why I've never been attracted to selling drugs or things that would actually make somebody's life worse. I love the idea that you can sell something and make somebody's life better. I love that. Yeah. I loved the idea that persistence trumps talent every time. I also love when he talked about how to rhyme is sublime.
Oh, yeah.
Because things do get stuck in your head when they rhyme.
Oh, for sure.
This guy, you probably have to listen to this show 2 or 3 times, Thrive Nation, but I would encourage you today to ask yourself, in what areas of your business are you not being persistent enough? In what areas of your life are you just not being persistent enough? Because Dan Pink talked about that. He says a lot of people start off their career with a lot of talent. People think they're going to go dominate. But over time, over a 10-year, 20-year period, he's discovered through his career, and I've seen it in my career, that the people who are simply the most persistent always win. And as always, if you learned something today, if you liked anything, if you learned something, if you laughed, if you had a good time, I would encourage you to share today's show with somebody in your family. Think about, who do you know that you could share today's show with via text or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or maybe you want to share via megaphone. Maybe you feel called to go out into the parking lot of a prominent retail environment and to yell the phrase Thrivetime Show. In fact, I feel as though there's somebody out there right now who wants to do this. Something inside you is making you want to drive to the center of a very busy, thriving intersection in the middle of a metropolitan area where there's a lot of people congregated, and you want to begin to chant the phrase Thrivetime Show. Because in your mind, you could picture this going so well. You can see the crowd getting behind you. But then in the distance, oh no, it looks as though you're actually inciting an angry riot. And then all of a sudden, you begin to feel as though you're a pro-U.S. southern border wall supporter, south of the border, south of where the would-be wall would be, and you're dressed up like Donald Trump, and you're wearing the Trump wig, and they start attacking you, and you have a t-shirt on that says, Mexico will pay for the wall, and here comes an angry dog, and you're covered in bacon! Luckily, you did not make that mistake, and instead you shared today's show via text, email, or social media. My name's Clay Clark, reminding you, don't incite a riot, but share today's show. 3, 2, 1, boom!
He has helped us increase our revenue by over 300% in less than the year we've been working with him so far.
This is Tyler and Rachel with Delbert Research. We're happy to share how instrumental Thrive Coaching has been in helping us grow our business.
He's helped us with really every aspect of our business, from hiring to training to marketing and even accounting, and has really given us practical steps to continuously improve our operations. I know that both Rachel and I really look forward to our call every single week.
Definitely.
Hi. Hi. All right, this is our dermatology site, so I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves. We'll start with Annie.
I'm Annie.
I'm Anna.
And Katie, and that's the phone.
And Anna is clearly the scheduling coordinator. Look at her, look at that headset.
Hello, my name is Charles Kolaw with Kolaw Fitness. Today I want to tell you a little bit about Clay Clark and how I know Clay Clark. Clay Clark has been my business coach since 2017. He's helped us grow from 2 locations to now 6 locations. We're planning to do 7 locations in 7 years and then franchise. And Clay has done a great job of helping us navigate anything that has to do with like running the business, building the systems, the checklists, the workflows, the audits, how to navigate lease agreements, how to buy property, how to work with brokers and builders. This guy is just amazing. He's this kind of guy has worked in every single industry. He's written books with like Lee Crockrell, head of Disney, with the 40,000 cast members. He's friends with like Mike Lindell. He does Reawaken America tours, where he does these tours all across the country where 10,000 or more people show up to some of these tours. On the day-to-day, he does anywhere from about 160 companies. He's at the top. He has a team of business coaches, videographers, and graphic designers and web developers, and they run 160 companies every single week. So think of this guy with a team of business coaches running 160 companies. So in the weekly, he's running 160 companies. Every 6 to 8 weeks, he's doing Reawaken America tours. Every 6 to 8 weeks, he's also doing business conferences where 200 people show up, and he teaches people a 13-step proven system that he's done and worked with billionaires, helping them grow their companies. I've seen guys from startups go from startup to being multimillionaires, teaching people how to get time freedom and financial freedom through the system. Critical thinking, document creation, putting it into organizing everything in their head to building into a franchisable, scalable business. Like one of his businesses has like 500 franchises. That's just one of the companies or brands that he works with. So great man. I'm very impressed with him. So Clay, thank you for everything you're doing. And I encourage you, if you haven't ever worked with Clay, work with Clay. He's going to help magnify you. And there's nobody I have ever met that has the ability to work as hard as he does. He probably sleeps 4, maybe 6 hours a day, and literally the rest of the time he's working, and he can outwork everybody in the room every single day, and he loves it. So anyways, this is Charles Kola with Kola Fitness. Thank you, Clay. And anybody out there that's wanting to work with Clay, it's a great opportunity to ever work with him. So you guys have a blessed one. This is Charles Kola. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes. I first heard about Clay through a mortgage lender here in town who had told me what a great job he had been doing for them, and I actually noticed he was driving a Lamborghini all of a sudden, so I was willing to listen. In my career, I've sold a little over $800 million in real estate. So honestly, I thought I kind of knew everything about marketing and homes. And then I met Clay, and my perception of what I knew and what I could do definitely changed. After doing $800 million in sales over a 15-year career, I really thought I knew what I was doing. I've been managing a large team of salespeople for the last 10 years here with Shaw Homes. And I mean, we've been a company that's been in business for 35 years. We've become one of the largest builders in the Tulsa area, and that was without Clay. So when I came to know Clay, I really thought, man, there's not much more I need to know, but I'm willing to listen. The interesting thing is our internet leads from our website has actually, in a 4-month period of time, has gone from somewhere around 10 to 15 leads in a month to 180 internet leads in a month. The results that we've gotten in a very short period of time are honestly monumental. It has really exceeded my wildest expectation of what he might be able to do. I came in skeptical because I'm very pragmatic, and as I've gone through the process over just a few months, I've realized it's probably one of the best moves we've ever made. I think a lot of people probably feel like they don't need a business or marketing consultant because they maybe are a little bit prideful and like to think they know everything. I know that's how I felt coming in. I mean, we're a big company that's definitely one of the largest in town. And so we kind of felt like we knew what we were doing. And I think for a lot of people, they let their ego get in the way of listening to somebody that might have a better or different perspective than theirs. I would just really encourage you, if you're thinking about working with Clay, I mean, the thing is, it's month to month. Go give it a try and see what happens. I think in the 35-year history of Shaw Homes, this is probably the best thing that's happened to us. And I know if you give them a shot, I think you'll feel the same way. I know for me, the thing I would have missed out on if I didn't work with Clay is I would have missed out on literally an 1,800% increase in our internet leads. Going from 10 a month to 180 a month, that would have been a huge financial decision to just decide not to give it a shot. I would absolutely recommend Clay Clark to anybody who's thinking about working with somebody in marketing. I would skip over anybody else you were thinking about, and I would go straight to Clay and his team. I guarantee you're not going to regret it, because we sure haven't.
My name is Danielle Sprick, and I am the founder of D. Sprick Realty Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After being a stay-at-home mom for 12 years and my 3 kids started school and they were in school full-time, I was at a crossroads and trying to decide what do I want to do? My degree and my background is in education, but after being a mom and staying home and all of that, I just didn't have a passion for it like I once did. My husband suggested real estate. He's a home builder, so real estate and home building go hand in hand, and we just rolled with it. I love people, I love working with people, I love the building relationships. But one thing that was really difficult for me was the business side of things. The processes and the advertising and marketing. I knew that I did not have what I needed to make that what it should be. So I reached out to Clay at that time, and he and his team have been extremely instrumental in helping us build our brand, help market our business, our agents, the homes that we represent. Everything that we do is a direct line from Clay and his team and all that they've done for us. We launched our brokerage, our real estate brokerage, 8 months ago. And in that time, we've gone from myself and one other agent to just this week, we signed on our 16th agent. We have been blessed with the fact that we right now have just over 10 million in pending transactions. 3 years ago, I never would have even imagined that I would be in this role that I'm in today, building a business, having 16 agents. But I have to give credit where credit's due. And Clay and his team and the business coaching that they've offered us has been huge. It's been instrumental in what we're doing. Don't ever limit your vision. When you dream big, big things happen.
I started a business because I couldn't work for anyone else. I do things my way. I do what I think is in the best interest of the patient. I don't answer to insurance companies. I don't answer to large corporate organizations. I answer to my patient, and that's it. My thought when I opened my clinic was I can do this all myself. I don't need additional outside help in many ways. I went to medical school. I can figure this out. But it was a very, very steep learning curve. Within the first 6 months of opening my clinic, I had a $63,000 embezzlement. I lost multiple employees. Clay helped us weather the storm of some of the things that are just a lot of people experience, especially in the medical world. He was instrumental in helping with the specific written business plan. He's been instrumental in hiring good quality employees, using the processes that he outlines for getting in good talent, which is extremely difficult. He helped me in securing the business loans. He helped me with web development and search engine optimization. We've been able to really keep a steady stream of clients coming in because they found us on the web. With everything that I encountered, everything that I experienced, I quickly learned it is worth every penny to have someone in your team that can walk you through and even avoid some of the pitfalls that are almost invariable in starting your own business. I'm Dr. Chad Edwards, and I own Revolution Health and Wellness Clinic.
The Thrivetime Show, 2-day interactive business workshops, are the highest and most reviewed business workshops on the planet.
You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.
JT, do you know what time it is?
4:10.
It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem, baby. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma during the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, 2024. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Growth Workshop. Yes, folks, put it in your calendar. This December, the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business growth workshop. We've been doing business conferences here since 2005. I've been hosting business conferences since 2005. What year were you born?
1995.
Dude, I've been hosting business conferences since you were 10 years old. And a lot of people, have followed Tim Tebow's football career on the field and off the field. And off the field, the guy's been just as successful as he has been on the field. Now, the big question is, JT, how does he do it?
Well, they're going to have to come and find out because I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, Tim Tebow's going to teach us how he organizes his day, how he organizes his life, how he's proactive with his faith, his family, his finances. He's going to walk us through his mindset that he brings into the gym, into business. It is going to be a blasty blast in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Folks, I'm telling you, if you want to learn branding, you want to learn marketing, you want to learn search engine optimization, you want to learn social media marketing, that's what we teach at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive workshop. If you want to learn accounting, you want to learn sales systems, you want to learn how to build a linear workflow, you want to learn how to franchise your business, that is what we teach at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop. Over the years, we've had the opportunity to feature Michael Levine, the PR consultant of choice for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson. We've had the top PR consultant in the history of the planet has spoken at the Thrivetime Show workshops. We've had Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, a company that creates apparel worn by celebrities all throughout the world. Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, has spoken at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshops. We have had the man who's responsible for turning around Harley Davidson, a man by the name of Ken Schmidt. He has spoken at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops. Folks, I'm telling you, these events are going to teach you what you need to know to start and grow a successful business. And the way we price the events, the way we do these events, is you can pay $250 for a ticket or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, we've designed these events to be affordable for you, and we want to see you live and in person at the 2-day interactive December 5th and 6th Thrivetime Show Business Workshop. Everything that you need to succeed will be taught at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Workshop, December 5th and 6th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the way we do these events is we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a question and answer session so that wonderful people like you can have your questions answered. Yes, we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a 15-minute question and answer session. It's interactive. It's 2 days. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've been doing these events since 2005, and I'm telling you, folks, it's going to blow your mind. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshop is America's highest rated and most reviewed business workshop. See the thousands of video testimonials from real people just like you who've been able to build multi-million-dollar companies. Watch those testimonials today at thrivetimeshow.com. Simply by clicking on the testimonials button right there at thrivetimeshow.com, you're going to see thousands of people just like you who've been able to go from just surviving to thriving. Whoa. Each and every day, we're going to add more and more speakers to this all-star lineup, but I encourage everybody out there today, get those tickets today. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com. And some people might be saying, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How does it work? You just go to thrivetimeshow.com. Let's go there now. We're feeling the flow. We're going to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, you just go to thrivetimeshow.com. You click on the business conferences button, and you click on the request tickets button right there. The way I do our conferences is we tell people it's $250 to get a ticket.
Yep.
Or whatever price that you can afford. And the reason why I do that is I grew up without money. JT, you're in the process of building a super successful company. Did you start out with $1 million in the bank account?
No, I did not. Nope, did not get any loans, nothing like that. Did not get an inheritance from parents or anything like that. I had to work for it, and I'm super grateful. I came to a business conference. That's actually how I met you, met Peter Taunton. I met all these people.
So if you're out there today and you want to come to our workshop, again, you just got to go to thrivetimeshow.com. You might say, well, who's speaking? We already covered that. You might say, where's it going to be? It's going to be in Tulsa, Jerusalem, Oklahoma. And someone says, Tulsa, Jerusalem. I'm really trying to rebrand Tulsa as Tulsa, Jerusalem, sort of like the Jerusalem of America. But if you type in Thrivetime Show and Jinx, you can get a sneak peek or a look at our office facility. This is what it looks like. This is where you're headed. It's going to be a blasty blast. You can look inside, see the facility. We're going to have hundreds of entrepreneurs here. It is going to be packed. Now, for this particular event, folks, the seating is always limited because my facility isn't a limitless convention center. You're coming to my actual home office, and so it's going to be packed. Who? You're going to come. Who? You? I'm talking to you. You can just get your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com. And again, you can name your price. We tell people it's $250 or whatever price you can afford. And we do have some select VIP tickets, which gives you an access to meet some of the speakers and those sorts of things. And those tickets are $500. It's a 2-day interactive business workshop, over 20 hours of business training. We're going to give you a copy of my newest book, The Millionaire's Guide to Becoming Sustainably Rich. You're going to leave with a workbook. You're going to leave with everything you need to know to start and grow a super successful company. It's practical, it's actionable, and it's Tebow time right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Get those tickets today at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com.
Hello, I'm Michael Levine, and I'm talking to you right now from the center of Hollywood, California, where I have represented over the last 35 years 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times bestsellers. I've represented a lot of major stars, and I've worked with a lot of major companies. And I think I've learned a few things about what makes them work and what makes them not work. Now, why would a man living in Hollywood, California, in the beautiful sunny weather of LA, come to Tulsa? Because last year I did it, and it was damn exciting. Clay Clark has put together an exceptional presentation, really life-changing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then. I'm Michael Levine. I'll see you in Tulsa.
Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops are the world's highest rated and most reviewed business workshops because we teach you what you need to know to grow.
You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specifics steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.
now you may be thinking, what does it actually cost to attend an in-person 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop? Well, good news. The tickets are $250 or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, they're $250 or whatever price you can afford. I grew up without money, and I know what it's like to live without money. So if you're out there today and you want to attend our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop, all you got to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com to request those tickets. And if you can't afford $250, we have scholarship pricing available to make it affordable for you.
I learned at the Academy in Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say. Whoa.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Today I'm broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona, not Scottsdale, Arizona. They're close, but they're completely different worlds. And we have a special guest today. Definition of intelligence is if you agree with me, you're intelligent. And so this gentleman is very intelligent. I've done this show before also, but very seldom do you find somebody who lines up on all counts. And it's a Mr. Clay Clark. He's a friend of a good friend, Eric Trump. But we're also talking about money, bricks, and how screwed up the world can get in a few and a half hour. So Clay Clark is a very intelligent man, and there's so many ways we could take this thing. But I thought, since you and Eric are close, Trump, what were you saying about what Trump can't, what Donald, who's my age, and I can say or cannot say?
First of all, I have to honor you, sir. I want to show you what I did to one of your books here. There's a guy by the name of Jeremy Thorne, who was my boss at the time. I was 19 years old, working at Faith Highway. I had a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. And he said, have you read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I said, no. And my father, may he rest in peace, he didn't know these financial principles. So I started reading all of your books and really devouring your books. And I went from being an employee to self-employed to the business owner to the investor. And I owe a lot of that to you. And I just wanted to take a moment to tell you thank you so much for allowing me to achieve success. And then I'll tell you all about Eric Trump. But I just want to tell you thank you, sir, for changing my life.
But not only that, Clay, thank you, but you become an influencer. More than anything else, you've evolved into an influencer where your word has more and more power. So that's why I congratulate you on becoming. Because as you know, there's a lot of fake influencers out there, too, or bad influencers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you and I agree so much. And thanks for reading my books.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thrill for me today. Not a thrill, but recognition is when people, young men especially, come up and say, I read your book, changed my life. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this.
I learned at the Academy in Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say. Whoa.